Seinfeld made regifting famous with the label maker that nobody wanted, and it just got regifted and regifted on and on. Gifting and regifting goes back for centuries, my friends. So as you look for those last-minute gifts, consider taking a shortcut by regifting. After all, today, as it turns out, is National Regifting Day. And my friend, celebrity historian Raffi Andonian joins us to tell us more about the day. Raffi, how are you, sir?
Good. And what a better time to have regifting day than the weather that's hitting.
Amen to that.
You can't shop, time to regift.
That's what I'm saying. Not only that, but between Ted's pants and your bow tie, I'm just, if you weren't in a festive spirit before, you are now. When did regifting or National Regifting Day begin, and why would such a thing start in the first place?
Well, it's a recent history, so it started in a financial crisis in 2008.
Ah, okay.
Which makes sense, right? Because you're trying to be more economical.
Everybody was trying to button down their budgets.
Exactly. You're having less, to consumer spending.
Right.
So then that's an opportunity to do some regifting. Around now is when you might have the office parties, or maybe in the leading days.
Yeah.
And what's really interesting is there's actually some etiquette to regifting as well.
Okay.
So for example, with this cheese board, I kept the box because when I regift this, I want to make sure it's in its original packaging.
That's a veteran move. Veteran move.
Or something timeless.
Because you knew right out of the chute, you're like, oh, I'm keeping all the packaging.
No, I got to make sure. Now, one of the other rules is you can't do it in the same social circle. So I got to make sure they're not watching.
It's got to be a whole different bubble. It's got to be a whole different social bubble.
So they can't be watching this right now, because then they're going to know that I'm regifting this, even though it's in the box.
That's going to be
the crystal from the family that I don't really want, but the family doesn't let me get rid of. I want to try to regift it and just get rid of it.
He's not kidding, by the way. Like, these really are yours, and you have. I was like, can I have this? And he's like,
go ahead,
because I was going to regift it. I love it. The term white elephant, where did that come from? Like the white elephant gift exchange, and is that in any way tied into regifting, or is that just kind of fun, unique gifts?
It is tied to regifting, but it depends. You can do it as a regift or an original gift, but it's what it's tied to is, well, there's two things. One is there's sort of this myth that we say a lot, which is that there were kings in the old days in Southeast Asia that would try to give a white elephant out of the herd to burden someone, but there actually isn't much evidence for that. That's just something that we repeat a lot. It was in Charles Dickens kind of stories a few times, so kind of popularized. You see the term white elephant in the United States come up in the 19th century, in the 1840s, 1850s, 1860s, but it's used in different ways. Sometimes it's actually used as something that's valuable, so very different than what we would think today. Sometimes it's used as something that is expensive but maybe useless, which is a little closer to what we would think of. Maybe like that right there would be a great example of that one. But then eventually it kind of merges with another saying that sometimes we still use, which is winning an elephant in a raffle, which is winning something you don't want.
Got it.
So that eventually kind of merges. There is no exact date. Language evolves over time, you know what I mean?
Sure.
And it comes to mean how we understand it today with the white elephant, the way that you're describing, right? So it makes a lot of sense. Now, here's another way that white elephant was used, though. In the early 20th century, 1890s, and actually 1900s, 1910s, used in politics also, on political cartoons. You see a white elephant depicted, and that actually a lot of times meant a burden in the political world. So it has that use as well, which is interesting. That burden part starts to come about quite a bit.
Fascinating, fascinating. And it's worth noting, as a historian, as you are, gifting throughout history has been a part of some really pivotal moments. It's been a critical part of our history in some ways.
Oh, absolutely. So gifting, not necessarily just regifting, but gifting in general has a long history. I'll go back and say, in ancient Rome, and then also in Europe in the medieval ages, actually what would happen a lot of times is you would have the peasants give gifts to their overlords to show that they're still there. You know what they would give a lot of times? Fruit and cheese. Cheese board, we still use that to this day.
Wow.
You ever got a fruit cake or a fruit basket for Christmas? We still think about that.
It goes back that far.
It does. And then here in North America, American Indians use it in different ways. So if you go to Virginia, the Algonquin-speaking Indians that are there when like John Smith and them arrived, they're doing gifting and regifting, actually, exchanging amongst diplomatic groups within the American Indian tribes, and even with the Virginians. They would totally regift to see as an exchange and sort of owing each other, right? Having that loyalty. Well, translate that over to going over to New York area. There's another group of Indians there that what they do, those American Indian groups, they're part of the Iroquois Confederacy. They also do gifting with belts, wampum belts, which many people have seen. They're beads. They're used diplomatically. Europeans start to use it. Well, all those traditions between the Europeans And the American Indians come together with the Lewis and Clark expedition, which starts right here in St. Louis.
That's right.
This is put out by Thomas Jefferson, who was a president at the time, and they have Lewis and Clark both have a bunch of these peace medals, and you see on there that there's a handshake. Now remember what's happened. There's Louisiana Purchase just happened. They're going down the Missouri River trying to find a waterway to the Pacific.
Right.
And what are they trying to do? Establish loyalties with the American Indian tribes that are there, and establish a sovereignty and gain their loyalty in the process. So that medal gifting process continues, and it's right here in St. Louis. You have that tie-in as well to gain loyalty in the United States.
We're out of time, Raffi, but thank you for being here. It's always interesting. We're going to post this segment right after the show at KMOV.com/greatday. Guys.
White elephant, I don't care. Elephants are always a burden. I don't care what color the elephant is. Anybody gives you an elephant for a
lot of upkeep there. You know what I'm saying?
That's putting a lot.
Yeah.
I'll take an elephant.
All right.